Today on the October episode of the Borderlands Show, Fran and I give our first impressions of Bloody Harvest. Head of Gearbox story group Randy Varnell is here to talk about a spoiler-filled discussion of the Borderlands 3 story, and we preview November's big event, Takedown, at Malawan's Black Site.
And Greg, don't we also have a special Halloween shift code for everybody?
We sure do, Fran. But before all that, welcome to the Borderlands Show, Vault Hunters. And just like that, Fran, episode 2.
Here we are.
The comments and all the reviews said they won't be back. Here we are now.
Here we are
We
today.
said it's too late now.
With another shift code, like we said.
Yeah, exactly. Of course, we're giving away some Halloween heads for your Vault Hunters. Shift code will be coming up later in the episode. If you've never watched the Borderlands show before, congratulations. It's episode 2. You haven't missed much. It'll be easy to catch up.
That's
but
right.
every month, me, Greg Miller, this, Fran Mirabella III, you know him as FM3_ on Twitch, we come together, talk about Borderlands, what's happening, and what will be happening, previewing the next month of content. We want you to be part of the show. Of course, subscribe, twitch.tv/Borderlands, youtube.com/BorderlandsGame, and then send us all your viewer mail for whoever we have on the show. kindafunny.com/Borderlands. Right now, let's catch up a bit on what's been happening in the Borderlands 3 universe. Like I said, this episode will be giving you a shift code. If you're on the YouTube, it's probably the first comment. It's probably been upvoted
right.
at this point at what the code actually is. You'll get some Halloween heads there. But Fran, one of the things we wanted to talk about here, talk to you, of course, as the bridge between Gearbox. We want to talk about the 30-day patch and what's been happening, right? All the stuff that's been leading up on it, right? Fran, what have you seen in terms of all these mini patches they've been putting out, everything that's been happening with Borderlands?
Yeah, the micro patches or the hot fixes or whatever you want to call them. We've seen a lot of activity actually that came right after launch. Character balances, loot balance stuff. A lot of that happened in pretty quick succession. So if you actually haven't been keeping an eye on that, you should take a look depending on what characters you play or what you're looking for in there. But we saw.
Oh, and don't worry, as a Flak main,
that's right.
I'm gonna have some questions for Randy about what's been happening with these hot fixes. You know what I mean?
You're spoiled. I'm Zane.
I am spoiled. You're right.
I'm Zane. We need more power as Zane, right? But they've been making a lot of adjustments, and it's something they've been paying very close attention to.
And it's one of those things we've been talking to them about, right? The quickness and the ability and the number of those hot fixes that have been coming. That's abnormal, right? I think you're going to start seeing that slow down now that they're hitting the stride with what they want Borderlands 3 to be based on what you guys want it to be and the way it's all been collaborating together. It seems like that's conversations happening, but we can talk to Randy about that.
It tends to happen that way, but I would say keep the feedback coming in. That's what we're here to help with. Get your questions on the show, any of the big community issues we want to talk about, and hopefully when and how these patches come out, we'll be getting that feedback in.
A big one for you, Fran, the EchoCast extension has been added to consoles finally.
Yes, super excited about that. I know I have been using it a ton over on Twitch, on PC. Don't hate on PC.
I am.
So
it tore us apart, Fran. We're supposed to play this game together. Do you remember those days?
Exactly. We still can, Greg.
We can now when you come back.
Be cooperative. Cooperative? Anyway.
Cooperative, yeah.
That's right. Anyway, so I've been using it a lot over on Twitch on PC, but now it has come to consoles, and you can use
cool.
it.
We ran it through, Borderlands Show episode 1 about it. But I mean, top level, right? Is that people log in with their shift stuff. They link up their accounts, their Twitch account, their Gearbox account. They go in, they watch you play a game. You open a red chest, and bam, they have a chance to win some loot.
Yes, exactly. It's really cool. There's also the badass events in the game, which are one of my most beloved things that came with EchoCast, where you actually can fight back against the streamer and buff the enemy, give it health, level it up. It's really cool, and they'll be doing more stuff with that in the future. I got to talk to the team at TwitchCon actually, and again passed along a lot of feedback. It's already really cool, but they're something they're still looking at that I think we can expect updates in the future.
And on top of that, Fran, consoles are also finally getting photo mode. It's happening, everybody. You can go to Borderlands.com, find out all the details for it. You're allowed to clap for that, Kevin. Everyone's allowed to clap for consoles, all right? Here we come. The tortoise is crossing the finish line, everybody. On top of that, though, if you want to use photo mode, if you go to Borderlands.com, they are holding a special photo mode contest over there where you can win a collector's edition just by using photo mode and posting your photos. Information on all this, of course, Borderlands.com. You can go there and get all your information. But news that might have flown under the radar if you're not on that Borderlands.com. It is the 10th anniversary of Borderlands. Can you believe it, Fran? October 20th, 2009.
Oh, I remember it's yesterday, actually, because I remember when Borderlands hit. It was so much hype.
Yeah.
But, it's a little hard to believe it's already been 10 years, though. So.
I can't get over it. I mean, that was the thing of, for Borderlands 3 to arrive this year after such a long gap, right? 7 years since Borderlands 2 to get there now. And then also on the back of that, be like, oh, yeah, it was also 10 years since Borderlands 1.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fran, 10 years ago, you and I were working together at a place called IGN.com.
That's right.
And there, a young boy, Charles Onyett, reviewed Borderlands. I thought his first paragraph from his review, I went to the archives of IGN today, blew the dust off it. I wanted to read it to you.
All right.
It's that undeniable impulse that pokes at the pleasure centers of the brain when you're looking at that sleek and impossibly flat television at the front of the electronics store. How much better and brighter would life be if only you could bring it home? You consider what's in your wallet, what kind of space rests between credit balance and limit, maybe for a second what your family might think, and perhaps more importantly, how jealous your friends would be. It's what drives economies that thrive on consumerism, and that urge to snatch up glittering new toys is what keeps the action energized in Gearbox's Borderlands, a first-person shooter title that caters to the thief, hero, and adventurer lurking in us all.
I think he captured the sentiment pretty well back then. I love Charles.
Love the fact that he's like that flat TV. Like, 2009 was we all had giant CRTs in the house still.
That was the big glorious thing at the time, was just having a nice flat screen plasma or something like that, right?
Fran, when you look back over these last 10 years, this decade, what has been the impact of Borderlands, you think?
Well, many people know I was first and foremost a Destiny player. I'm newer to the Borderlands community. I've played them all now, but I've always loved looter shooters. I always knew that I wanted to play Borderlands, but part of it was because I got so into these other looter shooters out there. But it is undeniable. A game came out in 2009, Borderlands, and it has influenced just how these looter shooters are today.
100%. It was the blueprint. Charles's next line in the review, I don't have it in my document here, but literally is like, this is basically a Diablo loot. Like, if he doesn't call it looter shooter because nobody had that name yet, right? Like, this is the game that really made that a thing.
Yep. Yeah, it really took that model. I was a big fan of Diablo before all these games as well. I just, I love loot and the grind. And I think when we first heard about it, we weren't sure if it could be pulled off, right?
Yeah.
And man, that's what made the magic in Borderlands at the time, was like, we all played it. We're like, not only is this a fun shooter, but holy cow, I want to grind out all this stuff, and it's got the characters on top of it.
Yeah.
So it brought all these amazing things together, and what an amazing place to be, 10 years later, and see all the modern improvements now brought to the game.
Well, I think it's so interesting to look back 10 years ago and not have known what we were getting into, right? I remember Borderlands being pitched to me as Charles pitches it, right, of this looter shooter, not calling it that. It's about gear, it's about loot. And I remember being like, I don't know. When I jumped to play it for Game of the Year and was like, oh my gosh, it's funny and it's trying to do these different things. I wasn't drawn in by the mechanics, even though that's what's kept me around. I was drawn in by the characters. I was drawn in by the stories. I wanted to know more about Pandora, Sanctuary, everything that's going on with Claptrap, right? Like these characters that mean so much to me.
Yeah, you make a good point. For me, it spoke to me in that way about the loot and all that. But for many others, it was just the flair and the style.
Sure.
And to see, they've stuck to their guns to this day. When I played Borderlands 3, that was, again, something that stuck out. I'm like, man, this game just has so much style, so much voice acting, so much going on with the characters. And, I know that's
voice.
Something. Exactly. Many great voices.
And it's another thing, too, 10 years from humble beginnings, right, of that in 2009, that review with Charles and what that game was, to now Borderlands 3. And since we did this, right, Borderlands 3 ships 5 million units in 5 days. Yeah. More than 5 million units in 5 days. You're like, God.
Yeah.
I guess I feel good that I'm not the only person that missed this game, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's funny that Borderlands as a franchise is one of the, top-selling franchises out there.
Yeah.
So it's just a huge game, and it's been awesome to see the game finally launch, and be out there in the new community. It seems like everybody's, loving it. There's obviously feedback, and we're going over that on the show. There's new events coming up. There's seasonal events, all that
and
stuff.
that was the big thing, too. Even like you're talking about seasonal events and like, Bloody Harvest, which of course we're going to talk about. It's Bloody Harvest season, clearly, is the idea, too, of like the 10th anniversary came with multiple weeks of content, right? Week 1 was the bonus boss loot. Week 2 was the rare spawn hunt. Week 3 was Show Me the Iridium. Week 4 was Mayhem on Twitch. And then week 5, October 29th through November 4th, Spooky Surprise, right?
Yes.
Like, I love that idea that there is a reward to this, that there's a living, breathing game here with a history that Gearbox wants to actually, support and take care of, and an audience they understand.
Yeah, and I think that's where you see a little bit of this loop happening, where Borderlands influenced all these other games now that have taken the notes, but now, these other games
my candy buckets,
also, I know they're buckets of blood, everybody, actually, just keeping in theme with Bloody Harvest, but now these are like more reactive events. I think we're seeing Gearbox trying out to do stuff that's a little more reactive.
Yeah.
And I have to say, out of these, the rare spawn hunt for me was one of my favorites, where I was like, I need a shield. And I'm like, where do I got to do that? They told you in, the list which bosses to go to.
Yeah.
And you could just grind that out. And like, that's the type of player I am. And so I would love to see more events like that, but it was great to see an entire month of them. And so I'm looking forward to see what else they do.
I mean, for me
lines.
personally, like, again, it's I love a reason to come back to a game I love, right? How many games do you do where you put in 60 hours, 70 hours, 100 hours, and then you put it down, and then there's an event, but I don't know if I really want to. For me, like, show me the Iridium, the event, right?
Yeah.
When that dropped, and I was like, oh, there's discounts? Oh, well,
Yeah.
I've been sitting on this Iridium, and I have been hemming and hawing about what I want, or I want to buy everything out. Why not jump back on? Why not get in right now and try to go through and buy what I need?
Yep. Yeah, and inevitably, it's like you go in to just like roll some Iridium, hit boxy slots, but then you're like, actually, I'm going to do this mission. And like, again, it brings the community back together. There's more people to play with at these times. So again, looking forward to more events. These are just, I don't even know what we call these, but these are like these in-game weekly events that they launch that are special. We've also got the seasonal event, which is Bloody Harvest.
Yep.
And we've got, Takedown, which we're going to talk about, which is another big event, a more permanent thing, right? And so it's just cool to see that a lot's happening. To your point, it's not that the game just came out and that's it. Yeah. It is a living, breathing thing, and we're going to see a lot more of that over the next year.
And to your point, when I was talking, planning the show, obviously, with Gearbox and 2K, one of the things they were talking about with this 5-week anniversary event, that it's a multi-week test to the devs. They're paying attention to all the feedback that they're getting, and they plan on using it for future events. So
exactly.
Keep on talking and saying what you want out of these kind of things. I mean, obviously, we're your voice, but
yeah,
if you want things that we don't, you want some Zane crap, go ahead.
Exactly. I mean, I think the feedback is simple, though. It's like, I really liked these events. We would like more as fast as possible. I feel like that's not going to be uncommon in the community. I think overall the events were great. And again, people are going to have their favorites. For me, it was Rare Spawn Hunt. Just getting targeted
Iridium.
loot.
Let me buy and sell things.
You just want to buy awesome
I want to buy things. I want to get more. I want to get more Iridium, and I want to get the things I'm spending it on cheaper.
Fair
because
enough.
I love all that stuff, and I want more of that. I want there to be like a huge update, and guess what? There's a million more items to get.
Right, yeah, that would be cool too, actually. More things to spend your Iridium on.
Speaking of spending your real-life Iridium, Greg Way, there's an October sale promotion as well. This week you can save 25% on Borderlands 3. DLC 1 is coming up fast, and the Super Deluxe Edition includes the Season Pass. So now's the time to get your friends to join you for some co-op fun so they can get ready to play DLC 1 with you.
Yep.
But, Fran, I digress. You don't have to worry about DLC 1. It's Bloody Harvest season.
That's right.
The time of pumpkins and ghouls and all sorts of things as Captain Haunt takes on.
waterfalls.
Exactly, blood water. Fran, we have gotten to just today play the preview stuff for Bloody Harvest, right?
Yep.
To run through. We both took on Captain Haunt. You were over there. You were playing as your main, right?
Yep.
Because you seemed like you had an easier time than I did. You seemed like you didn't I got clowned at one point. I was playing as Amara. I wasn't ready for it. I was diving in. I wanted to see what it was, and it was like, I got down to that last, fourth of health and got clowned out. I was like, ah.
Yeah.
What did you think? What's your first impression of Bloody Harvest?
Yeah, well, I mean, a couple quick notes on it too. Remember, Bloody Harvest is something you can just jump into. It's not like you have to unlock it.
Right.
It's just, it was a seasonal event, and we got a preview
Maurice
look
will
at
be
it.
on Sanctuary. You can't miss something.
Exactly. Maurice is cool and funny. Some of the dialogue that's in there, but
I like this whole undercurrent to him that like everything he says is like he's trying to be. He says he's trying to be friendly, but it sounds like he just wants to kill you.
Yeah, you're like, this sounds dangerous. And
Yeah.
then, you go through this warp portal or whatever, and you're in this really cool new environment. I think that's the coolest thing that stood out to me. We've seen so much of all these new worlds and stuff in Borderlands 3, and we actually got another new space. It didn't feel like, I was in some other area that just we hung up, like our studio, that we just put a pumpkin in, right, in Pandora. It doesn't have that feeling. It's a totally new area. It's super spooky. There's new particle effects and all that kicking. So I just love the vibe of it. And, I'm looking forward to seeing what loot has come out of it and all that stuff. But yeah, I just love the vibe. And seriously, right, like waterfalls of blood, definitely speaks to me for an event like
if we're
this.
going to heck like they wanted us when we talked about it last week, right? That was the whole thing about it. To get in there, and like, all right, what is it going to be? Borderlands Episode 1, we got to debut first footage of it. So you saw jack-o'-lanterns, you saw psychos hanging from trees, you saw this like gravestones and green stuff, and it was like, cool. Is it going to feel like I'm on another world in the galaxy that is kind of trying to be spooky, or is it going to feel like this has a vibe, it has a thing, it's not just reskinned enemies with new names, right? Playing it from the the world we did of jumping through the portal, going into heck, going in and fighting all these things. I think it nails it from that, one level of us going through and fighting Captain Haunt, where it did feel like, okay, cool, this is a seasonal environment, but it's not just a simple reskin. Like, I'm going through, I'm playing this, like, the music alone for when we're fighting Captain Haunt, which was so, like, I'm not good at music, but it was like, it was this weird, like, not techno beat, but it had like this spooky mix to it, but it wasn't just like clanging, chains clanging around.
Dubsteppy, rocky, like,
and it felt great.
Intense.
It gave that fight like a personality outside of just going on against a guy with a giant, skull for a head.
Yeah, the whole event. So again, this is a place you hop into, you fight, Captain Haunt. This is free content. You got to remember and set your expectation for that. And yes, you do go out into the world, and now the enemies are sort of possessed or whatever, and you get terrorized, which is a new gameplay mechanic that they added for the event. So again, it's a free event. I loved the area they created, but actually going out into the world, even though you go to these places that you've already been to, the new gameplay mechanic actually of getting terrorized and all, it's pretty cool. Yeah. You get a new skill. It's a little like Anointed. You get certain drops that if you're terrorized, right, you'll get certain buffs and stuff. So it gives you new things to look for, new drops to look for.
Of course, it has me going back to old environments, right? For Hectoplasm, I'm at one of the side missions you get later on from Maurice, going out doing that, fighting these different enemies. I really do like this idea that when you kill certain enemies now during the event, especially out in the open world when you're fighting them, then that like giant skull wants to fight you. If you can kill that, you've just killed the guy. Now you have the possessed skull coming at you. Right. If you kill that, it drops loot. If it hits you, you get nothing. Like, it's like, all right, cool.
Yeah, and honestly, in shooters, I always love that as more things to shoot, so you get that after phase of like, I killed the enemy and I was like, oh crap, now I'm gonna get terrorized if I don't shoot these skulls coming at me. It's a little bit of target practice for you, and again, it's just like a maybe a simple gameplay mechanic in concept, but it adds a lot.
But again,
to the
after what have we done, 90 80 hours of this game, like just having a skull that's there to come at you, and it chases me around the map, and I can't outrun it. Really, it was like, all right, this is cool. Like, I like that, and especially when I was doing the Captain Haunt fight, right, and he's this huge hulking beast that we've seen, and he's sending them out and then putting up portals to shield himself. I'm shooting them.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, if this is what is maybe to come more, we get more of this in the future. Yeah. Again, there's a free seasonal event.
This is not DLC. It's not the DLC. This is not DLC 1. This is a free event. Here you go.
Exactly.
It is, seasonal. It won't be around forever, so you have to get in and play it.
Yep. So, again, if this is something that's to come in the future, we'll get more of that stuff. I don't know that I'd have a ton of notes. I mean, you're always going to want more.
Oh, sure. That was my thing, too. It was like, what's the call-on for it? I'm like, I'm interested to see where this goes, how long it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, Captain Haunt, I think, is the meat of the fight. Or the fight is the meat of the Bloody Harvest event. Yes. But then for me to go out in the world and look for more Hectoplasm, how many missions does Maurice have? Well, I know we're giving away, obviously, the shift code today that gives you different Halloween heads. What are the other, we saw the Bloody Harvest skins and stuff like that. Like, how am I going through and getting them? How am I trading on all this stuff?
Yeah, again, like, you're always going to want more. So we've been doing this a long time, so I do have to put that hat on. It's like, it's a free seasonal event. Yes, what I want, a ton of exclusive legendaries and 5 new bosses, and like, of course, but I really did enjoy my time with what I played, and I'm looking forward to seeing how, again, they do stuff that is seasonal, because this is Halloween, so what's next? Are we going to get something snowy, or we'll see what happens.
Well, I mean, you're just gonna see. I mean, you're gonna skip over Thanksgiving.
Oh, okay.
Now, granted that maybe that's
see,
too
you always want more.
Maybe that's too American. You know what I mean? Maybe it's too soon.
Could be, yeah.
Because we miss Canadian Thanksgiving.
Canadian Thanksgiving's done, dude. I'm good. You prepared for all the comments that we're going to be like, we already had our Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Do the British people have them? Do they?
Let's not go down that road, Greg. Because
Governor.
We know about all the holidays.
Bean and kidney pie for Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? I love you. You're British guys. Don't worry about it.
Perfect. But anyway, I had fun with the event and looking forward to
Me too. Yeah, I'm excited to get into it on my real save with my real flack. Who, again, I'm going to have some questions for Randy about.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm going to get in there and actually see what it's all about.
Yeah.
But Fran.
Yes.
Speaking of exciting things that are going to happen here, are you excited to do a spoiler-filled discussion with Randy?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, if you played this story and you got to the end, we are sitting down with the head of Gearbox's story group.
Yeah, that's right. You nailed it. I like how the question at the end. We're all set for this, and then this morning they're like, hey, Randy's title changed. We're like, oh, no.
But no, like, honestly, being able to go over all these details is going to be really cool.
Yeah. Before we get into that, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have Randy talk about some of your community concerns. So if you're not wanting spoilers, you're still slowly working your way through the game, which I can't imagine anyone crazy enough to watch this show is. No spoilers in the very front, then we'll get into it. But for right now, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome Randy. As I live and breathe, Randy Varnell. Yay! Yay! Yes, there it with, just like the claps for consoles. Randy, thank you so much for coming to join us today.
Hey, it's a pleasure.
So we have a whole bunch of stuff for you, all right?
Yes,
We're gonna
let's go.
later we're spoiling stuff. Later. Not right now, you don't have to worry about that.
Okay.
Pretty much immediately we want to do community concerns. But before any of that, I want you to introduce yourself to these fine people. How long have you been at Gearbox? And then what the hell does head of Gearbox Story Group mean?
So I've been at Gearbox at 10 years. This is my,
Wow.
we talked about how this is the 10-year anniversary for Borderlands.
Yeah.
I literally came on right before Borderlands was launched, Borderlands 1. And
You take all the credit? You're like,
it was all
high-fiving at the
me,
launch party.
those last 2 months right before, it's so much, no, but it was really cool. I've been here 10 years, and I've done a lot of different things. I've been a producer, I've been a creative director. Story Group is something we put together for Borderlands 3. It was originally called the Narrative Team, so if you see me talk about the game and all that, I was managing producer of narrative for some really long, and it got so many words, and we talked to some people, and it's like, that's a lot to remember. Let's just simplify it.
You really chiseled it down, didn't
Right.
you? Senior executive lead of head narrative.
Right.
I'm the head
Story
of
Group. No, I'm
Gearbox
just kidding.
Story Group, everybody.
Head of Gearbox Story Group, right?
Well, we love the idea. I love Story Group. We talked earlier. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, and I've always watched how Lucasfilm puts together, and they've got a story group there that really looks at all of the things that they do for anything that has the Star Wars brand on it. And Gearbox, of course, Borderlands is a big brand for us. We're very excited about everything we've done for there, everything we are going to do for there. A lot of exciting plans we're going to talk about. We've got other properties and other games that we're always working on. So our story group, our writers, our cinematics department, even our lore department, we're building up now just to keep everything communicating and consistent. We touch a little bit of everything on there. So I get to play in every one of these great stories and properties and help us tell excellent stories for everybody.
Now, this is a loaded question.
Yes.
Don't take it the wrong way. Do you feel that role or that position, I guess, was lacking before? It didn't exist. Do you think there was things you saw that were like, oh, well, why are we doing it this way? And why are they saying this in the game when historically this had happened or something to that effect?
It's yes and no. I mean, it's kind of a factor of scale, right? Like when we made Borderlands 1 and Borderlands 2, those were much smaller teams.
Sure.
And every game we continue to get larger and larger and larger. And at some point, it's one of the reasons we put the original writing team together. Like Borderlands 2 had a writer. We have 4 on Borderlands 3.
Yeah.
So because of the game of the scale, we actually wrote like 250,000 words of dialogue. We wrote a amount of writing equal to what was in Game of Thrones.
Wow.
For that, and it's all tucked in different places of the game, and it's consumed differently. But I don't think it was weaker before, but as the games get bigger, you have to think of how you organize a team, and it comes down to practical math. Like only so many people can write so many things in so much time. So we had to grow up, and our ambitions are growing. We want to get better at storytelling. We want to get better at really drawing people in and balancing all that. When we get to the spoiler discussion in a little bit, we'll get in the weeds of that and pull that apart. But I don't think we've ever lacked, but I'm really excited about our future.
That's awesome. All right. Let's not talk about the future, Randy. Let's talk about the present. Fran and I have been scouring the internet looking for community concerns, right? And of course, so many of you wrote it in kindafunny.com/Borderlands. Thank you so much. We wanted, obviously, big part of the show is helping you, Gearbox, talk to the audience a little bit better. It seems to me, Fran, there's been about 3 major concerns everybody agrees with. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, these come up a lot.
So the ones we saw, right, were the size of the general loot pool and that players would like to see more loot drops tied to bosses and activities. The next one, number 2, the major nerfs and buffs to Vault Hunters are divisive, right? Why are they happening? Why are you just picking on Flak? You know what I mean? Fran, stay back for a second. Flak was perfect. Flak was perfect. And then you keep coming in. It's a PvE. I'll get to. And then number 3, bank space. Everybody keeps wanting more bank space, right? Curtis R. wrote in, who mains Amara, and said, how do we farm legendaries when there's only 50 slots in our bank? Which seems to delete itself on occasion. Please add more bank space. I love the game.
All right, and you just go to me and a go. Okay,
yeah, go. Well, you got 3 things to go from. Where do you want to go from?
Let's just start down the top. Like
number 1,
the first thing I'll say is just make a general statement. Like you guys, thank you so much for you're doing the same thing that we are. You're listening to the community. You're really watching.
We are the community.
You are the community. So thank you. But we listen to everyone. We're definitely we don't obviously advertise ourselves a lot there, but we're as a design team, we're on Reddit, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. We obsessively watch streamers and other people in the communities. We watch all the we're not supposed to, but we listen to everything. We read all the reviews. We read we have a lot of debates about those back at Gearbox. So if anybody's wondering, yes, Gearbox is there. We are watching what you say, and because we don't say anything, doesn't mean that we agree or disagree, or that we're ignoring or we're planning. Like, we have plans, and I think with this show and with some other things we have in the future, we want to increase the amount of communication that we have with everyone to let everybody know what we're thinking, what we're planning. But I'll just make a blanket statement first. Like the three things that you said, absolutely, we recognize them as things that are very important to our community, and we want to respond to those.
Okay.
Could you actually spell out for people, what is it normally that it comes down to? Is it just making the decision, or is it actually the amount of work and the priorities? Or, like, in other words, why don't you look at one of these and say, okay, yeah, fine, we'll do that for you?
That's a great question, because it is actually a really complicated set of factors, right? If it were just as we were talking earlier, it was just as simple as tossing a switch. Like,
we agree.
I'm going to change my inventory from 50 to 5. I'm just put an extra 0 there, 500. If it was that simple, we would have already done it. We would have put it out there and we've done it. It's almost never that simple. And like we've already, like this show highlights, we're working on a lot of other content as well. Now to
be clear, you're the reason the dates move all the time. Why it's always we end up saying it's this date-ish.
I'm sorry.
It's this guy.
It's just you, Randy.
Just call me Randy's scapegoat. Whatever. But no, it is. It's there's a lot of stuff that goes on. I'll just go in reverse order. The bank slot one is one that comes up a lot. And I was telling you earlier, I mean, maybe there's some kind of math we have, like for every billion guns we drop, we give you 5 bank slots or something. I don't know if that's the right ratio.
Yeah. It's somewhere somebody decided. An executive in a boardroom said that's what.
Well, maybe 10 bank slots, but. No, I've played our game. I'm already all the way through a True Vault Hunter playthrough with Flak as my main as well, and I'm playing with Zane was my second, and Amara was my third. Mose is still behind because my I have a co-op buddy I play with, and he was playing a Mose and has already done all that. So we're trying to balance that out, but I'm right there with everyone else. Like I'm playing the game the same way. I don't have any more bank slots than anyone else, and I'm having to juggle the legendaries and all that too. We're very aware of it, Gearbox. For us, the bank space is actually tied up in a lot of the things that we're having to work through technically with performance and stability.
Gotcha.
So it's in the UI. There's a lot of things. I know some people have already talked about that. So we want to do it. It's a lot more complicated than we wanted it to be, and a lot of people wanted it to be. So we're just taking the time to be sure that we don't otherwise hurt performance and stability while we do it. And we're gonna get to it as soon as we can. It's not gonna be nearly as soon as people want.
Sure.
They want it right now. Not gonna be right now. It's gonna.
Always.
But we really do hope that we'll find some opportunities to do that. But we're definitely aware it's a major community concern.
Yeah, it's always nice to know you agree, and it's on the list. Like sometimes just hearing that goes a really long way. So.
I hope so.
Well, I mean, that has to be one of the most frustrating things for your side of the game, right? Is how do you message this stuff? What do you say? What don't you say? Because it's your point, right? If you're just going to tweet at somebody who says oh no, we're working on that, then people are like, oh man, next patch. They run away. You have to get this information out there, but you have to also manage the message. And there is, I'm sure, a list already of things you're working on or need to work on that outrank the bank.
I wish one day it would kind of be interesting if we could ever do like a video that shows like the actual daily life cycle of the emotional stability of a developer. Because we go through this thing, we're like, we'll go out to the forum and we're like, yeah, totally agree with them. We've got to fix that. And we go run to the office of the person who fixes it. We got to fix that today. Well, here's the things. Like, oh, and then it's like, well, can we tell anybody? Like, we go through all of this, and like we want, like, if we could wave a magic wand and change it and fix it and all that, but sometimes these are like the Banks Place thing. Yeah. You've got to be very careful in how we expand and fix that, and be sure that we don't negatively impact other parts of the game. There's already been a couple of the earlier patches, the micro patches we did that they went out and they've some of them we'll get into that. Some of them are a little debatable in what they did. Some of them actually created some instability. So we're trying to add some processes where we're being very careful about how we look at the patches, the patch process. Definitely letting the community add weight to all of those for the priority. But that always has to get compared against how long it takes, how much it costs, and what are the other things that we're trying to get out. A lot of great new content, too. You've got to do both. You have to fix the issues, and you have to add new content because we really want to keep the game vibrant as long as we can.
Yeah, I don't want to wait on this takedown stuff.
Right.
But I also want this, so I want both.
You mentioned it, right? Like at the top of the show, I talked about how you guys had mentioned to me beforehand that the micro patches are slowing down a clip, right? Like you guys did it a lot in the beginning. I think try to get the game where it needed to be and running well or whatever, now it's going to get to more of what you're talking about, making decisions that have weight to it, right? Is that fair?
Yeah, we want to be sure that they get tested as thorough as we can before they go out, so we're sure that we know what they do. Because sometimes, I mean, working on software is kind of like surgery. You know, you kind of like, well, I hope this medicine takes effect. Nope. Okay, that had I've grown a left arm. I guess that did have unusual consequences.
Man, you have a terrible doctor.
You don't want me to
surgery giving you the medicine.
But we have to slow down a little bit to be sure that we understand all the ramifications of what we do and all that. And it's not going to slow down a lot. By the way, we still want to. The reason that we have a micropatch system is so that we can look at serious issues that come up, especially like it's one of the consequences of adding new content. When we add a takedown, when we add bloody harvest, that's new code that we're putting in the system, and it's great. Yeah. And inevitably, we test things as thoroughly as we can. We have a big QA team. We work with the publisher to do that. We all do that. But inevitably, something comes out and we need to be able to correct something fast. So we will, but we are trying to take that second breath with micro patches to be sure that we maintain the quality of the game and the integrity of the game that people need to be able to really enjoy it.
Now, you keep hitting around about stuff you did before, right, that maybe changed things people didn't want. I assume my apology is coming for flack. I assume that's what's happening because he has been unjustly persecuted in all of these micro patches. I'll have you know, and the Reddit agrees with me.
Yeah, so there's an interesting thing talking about Vault Hunter balance that comes in, and again, I'm head of story. I get to work with design. I've done some design before, so I know
what a show for you to show up.
This is great. I'm going to talk about things that are not my responsibility. I'm going to make promises for people.
Somebody's got to take responsibility for that third arm.
I'm here, so let's go. Let's change the universe. No, we're looking at all of that, and again, one of the big questions we have that I know you guys have heard and we've already talked a little bit about is, hey, it's a PvE game. Why would you ever nerf anything? Well, there's actually a really interesting science between a game that has growth in it and how we play and how long our interest. One thing that we get to see, like we have a lot of dev cheats back in the dev build at home, and if we're ever trying to play through and then suddenly give ourselves like, I want every legendary right now, your interest goes way down. And on a game that's all about what am I finding, what am I getting, what's going to drop from that enemy, is it going to drop from that boss, finding that right balance between being strong and still having something to grow for is really, really, really important. So I think Borderlands 3 is, especially if you compare it to 2 and other games, is already super, super generous in a lot of that. And so when we nerf flak and when we nerf some guns and we do some other things like that, what we're really trying to look for is the places where we've seen builds, usually from the community, that are outliers. When you get a combination of things that like, look, we've got billions of guns in our game. We can't test every combination. We try to get as many of the things as we can, but eventually someone posts a video like, oh, wow, that's not intended. You shouldn't be able to do that,
boss.
Right? I remember Borderlands 2 when it was what's his face, the big boss, Verminiferous, I think it was, right? And you found the interaction between the gun, the conference call, and the B shield that you could almost one-shot him. And that was found like a couple of weeks out of launch, and we were watching the videos then, and we're like, oh, no. Oh, gosh. It's supposed to be a challenging fight. And someone found this weird combination of math that took all the challenge. Congratulations, by the way. Like, Borderlands has that. We never want to completely kill that ability that you found a combination that exceeds well beyond the curve. But we are looking at the curve. Yeah. And we are looking at those really high-level combinations that are just beyond exploitative and trying to bring those in line to protect the health of the game over the long time. And I know some people are like, yeah, but you should never, I just want to have fun. Like, there's so many other ways to have fun.
Though,
and we're
right?
not, and we still want to acknowledge it's a PvE game. We're not going to hyper balance for PvP like you would in other games. Yeah. Other games would need to. We're going to keep that spark in there. So there are some adjustments that'll come that'll be nerfs. We're also looking at things to power up. With flak, in particular, one of the things we're looking at the viability of the pets. We've heard a lot of feedback that the pets, especially as you get into true Vault Hunter mode and later gameplay, the pets just die too fast or don't do enough damage to matter. You really, like me, I play with the Jabber, and I like that the Jabber can revive me because I die a lot, right? And that's a good utility, but it needs to have more viability than that. So we'll look for stuff there. We're looking at Iron Bear late game for Moze. We think that Iron Bear, while early game is a tremendous juggernaut in the battlefield, late game needs a little bit of love. And then I'm going to talk. Here we go with Zane. We're looking at several improvements on Zane, especially working things with his cryo build. I think we're looking at some improvements with his uptime when he's in his action skill. You
Right.
get combat bonuses and all
Kill
that.
skills and all that.
The kill skills, it's not as high as we want it to be. So I think Zane's going to get a lift in the future. So no hard commitments here on that, but these are the things that we're looking into and aware of, and have some patches coming up soon.
Yeah. Yeah, like I say, it's always nice to know that you're looking. And then, maybe to what you're getting at, you want a sense of accomplishment and change. Do you think, like, when you, create some of these balances and you get into a build that, like, okay, that's working, do you think over time that you're going to need to change it, that it changes up? Like, in other words, that you need to drive people towards, use Zane as an example. I haven't seen a ton of people using Barrier. Maybe I'm not the best Zane player in the world. But in other words, do you feel like at certain points across the lifespan of Borderlands 3, you're going to need to shift the meta just to mix things up? Or is it more about what the players are doing?
I think in a game like Borderlands 3, like if we were in, like we did Battleborn a few years ago, and in that being a competitive game with a lot of characters that had some complexity in the builds, we definitely thought about the long-term meta. And in those games, you usually want some kind of mechanic where every so often I just want to shuffle this a little bit to keep it fresh and interesting from people. I don't think that we would do that just because we're bored in Borderlands, right?
That's really turned it on its head.
I think Borderlands, there's so much content coming out between the seasonal content, the takedowns, the DLC, the events, and all that. We're going to mess up our own meta anyway, and I think we are much more. Again, I'm going to say things that Paul Sage, our creative director,
he's like, talking, Randy.
But I really think for us, getting that new content in and then just finding out where those edges are and adjusting it is probably all the meta adjustment we need in our game. But we are always watching and always listening, and would love to hear what you guys find, what the community finds, and always willing to take a look at what people really want to see to keep the game exciting. We supported Borderlands 2 and the pre-sequel a long time after lunch.
Yeah.
After lunch. I had lunch early after launch. And would like to continue to do that with Borderlands 3. We have more people and more aggressive plans than we've ever had on a project at Gearbox before for post-launch support on this. So I think you're going to see a lot of great stuff coming.
Awesome.
And so the one at the top, you are looking at the general loot pool as well.
Yeah.
Finding stuff in the right places or more places, so to speak.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, when I talked to Paul about this, what he's seeing right now is a general idea that people who like to play the long game, they really like the farmability on bosses. I think the big thing that people are really looking for is a little bit more predictability in where things drop. One of the problems that we actually have is our general loot pool. Legendaries can drop from anything, is bigger than it was in Borderlands 2.
Sure.
And some of the best legendaries in the game right now are dropping in that pool and not on the specific boss pool. So it gets frustrating to try to find a specific thing. We did some things in the recent events to, like, certain things drop things a little bit more and all that to help with that.
Was cool.
Yeah, Rare Spawn was nice to spell it out where it's going to be.
Thanks. And we're looking for that type of thing and maybe some of those types of solutions to help. But yeah, our goal is definitely to get that thing where you have bosses or you have mini bosses that drop certain things. Those pools, that you can go and get on that and hunt those down. We want that loot hunt to be there. So we'll make some shifts. I think there's some things coming in the next couple of weeks that are going to tweak that a little bit. There are also some legendaries that are like boss legendaries that are not as powerful as they need to be.
Yeah.
So we're looking at some boosts for some legendaries coming up in some of those loot pools soon that will help some of those things that are farmable items maybe get on par with the other ones. And so I think that'll help.
Yeah, I think it'll bring some excitement to, in addition to sitting out there just farming Nighthawkin, which is like an amazing SMG in the game. Like, I think there's some cool looking guns that, to your point, you're like, well, it's okay, but all I'm going to use is Nighthawkin all the time, or a certain pistol here or there. And so, yeah, making some of those adjustments will go along.
And I think you mentioned earlier, I will add this to your previous question. You asked if we would ever tweak or adjust the meta. I think if we ever see a moment that there's a gun or a grenade mod that everybody's you can have, I think at that point we would want to see where we can boost others or we could tap that down a little bit. We want to understand why that's because it's a game with billions of pieces of gear in it, and we want to create a lot of viability within the loot pools.
You realize now if you nerf Nighthawkin, everyone's going to blame me for bringing it up on the show. So just to be clear,
please do it. Please do it.
As much as we can, we like to buff rather than nerf. Every once in a while, we do find things, like I said, that are way out of the curve or something. We have to bring those down a little bit to be able, otherwise you get in this kind of, inflation game with damage and then
everything's just
crazy.
All
right, ladies and gentlemen. This is your shot. If you haven't beaten the story for Borderlands 3, you can click off or mute it or whatever. Don't click off. We still have a shift code coming up. But stick around, but mute it or whatever, because we're going in. This is your last chance. Okay. Randy.
Yes.
You fucking killed Lilith.
Oh God.
Or did you? Or did you? I don't know. You know what I mean?
I don't know.
You do know. You're the head. You got to be the head of Gearbox Story Group.
I do know, but am I going to tell?
We're
Yeah.
asking you, did you kill Lilith? Is that what happened?
Is Lilith dead?
Wow, you're going to put me on the spot on camera.
You're the guy.
Lilith is gone.
Okay. Is she the moon now? Is she like Mogo in DC Comics?
Lilith is gone, and I think the only thing that I really want to say right now, as far as that's concerned, is there will be more answers for the Lilith story some point in the future.
Okay.
I don't know when. Probably not a DLC. Lilith, I mean, she's pulled a lot of weight for 3 games.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
yeah.
And even was in, the pre-sequel for a little bit, and do something. She's had a lot of responsibility for a long time, and we love her. She's in so many ways, like Borderlands 3 is her story in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah.
We can dig into that a little bit, but we want to let her take a little bit of a breath. We want to let her have a break and all that. So she is definitely gone for a while. That's probably all I want to say.
That's fine.
Probably all I want to say.
Was that a hard decision to make?
Yes.
Was it? Because I can, on the one hand, understand, this is cool. Let's do something different. I thought it was so different to have her powered down for this story, right? Like, that was out of the realm of what we knew from Lilith. But it also, I mean, that alone is like a weird decision if you're a Lilith fan, to then actually kill her or have her sacrifice herself at the end, right? It's a completely different ball of wax.
Well, what we really look about with that is character arcs, how characters grow and change over time. And it's one of my things that I think it's my favorite thing about this game for what it really does to kind of cap off Lilith's story in this phase of the Borderlands universe, right? Lilith starts off just like all the other Vault Hunters do in Borderlands 1. She's a mercenary. I remember the first time I played Lilith, and she was one of the first times I realized how cool Borderlands could be when I got a sniper rifle with her and I shot someone and she got a crit and she giggled. And that's one of the first things Lilith was out there just like every other kind of Vault Hunter. They're kind of heroes and kind of not. Sometimes, they're kind of in that weird gray moral end a lot of times. And she started off just being that wasteland, just barely above that wasteland bandit.
Yeah.
In Borderlands 2, when you get there, you find out that she's taken on this mysterious siren identity as the Firehawk. She's been in and out of a relationship with Roland, another of the Vault Hunters from Borderlands 2. She's being worshipped, but you start to see that hero emerge more and more from there. She takes the Iridium, she saves the city's sanctuary in Borderlands 2. She does all of that and has a great arc through that. And then at the very end of the game, I don't know if you ever did this. I always love to ask people in Borderlands 2 at the end, when you have the choice whether or not to kill Handsome, when Handsome Jack is there and he's monologuing, you can shoot him. It tells you to shoot Handsome Jack. If you don't,
I feel like I didn't. But then I thought somebody else got to him anyway, right?
if you don't, Lilith walks across.
That's what it was. Yeah.
And pops him. So she takes that, and you see that leadership emerging in her. Like, no, this is going to happen. He's messed with my friends. He's messed with my people. I'm going to protect. So she really does start taking on this protective element for the kind of our Crimson Raiders, our citizens of Sanctuary. We even did a whole DLC with their name in it. The extra DLC 5 for Borderlands 2. We put out the Summer Commander Lilith and the fight for Sanctuary. One, both to explain what happened to that Sanctuary and where the Vault Key was and to get people refreshed on characters. But it is another part in Lilith's arc. You see her not just accidentally inheriting the Crimson Raiders from Roland in Borderlands 2, but her actually taking intentional steps to step up into leadership. And again, using that Firehawk, that siren ability that she has as a big kind of save the day mechanics in that. And she couldn't save Sanctuary, but she saved all the people on it, which for her was the most important thing. So for us, when you get to Borderlands 3, now I get to answer your question.
Yeah.
So you're gonna regret soon having this story guy on the show because I can do this for hours.
You are good at podcasting. I'm just listening. I love it.
So when we get to Borderlands 3, there's a really interesting thing you do. Now Lilith is she hires you. She wants the Crimson Raiders. It's her brochure that you see at the beginning, in the rock and roll intro that you get, come join the Crimson Raiders. She sends Claptrap out to find you, and she comes in. You're like, welcome to the Crimson Raiders. You have that moment with her at the beginning, and whether you're a new player or an existing player, you have that moment to understand she's important. She's a Firehawk, and she's powerful, and she needs you, which also makes you feel very powerful. And then you do a really interesting thing. You take those powers away from her. And then you have to see, at the moment that you're getting the ship, she's got all the people together, you're about to go to the galaxy, and now you have these new asshat villains that are, they're a little bit more threatening than we thought. We thought they were just kind of funny, and oh crap, they can actually suck the siren powers out of Lilith. So now all of the characters that we know and love are in jeopardy. I'm not gonna say that we took a page necessarily out of George Martin, because we were killing characters before Game of Thrones got on air, I think, but
not the first to do it.
But there's a reason that you want your villains to have threat, you want your universe to have threat in them, and you do that. But Lilith's faced with this choice now. She's the commander on Sanctuary, but she's lost what she's come to depend on, her siren abilities, to a degree, her identity.
So was that moment more to give the player the moment to rise up and feel the power, or these other characters that start to rise up and get power?
Everything. We almost never do any one thing for one reason, especially when you're weaving together a story, right? The best moments that we can create do all of that. So yeah, the players now feel that they are more important. Lilith is going to have to depend on you more. You've had a hand in helping her out. You feel attached to her, even if you're a brand new player. So there's some storytelling that we do in the game and that to make you feel special. But now you get to see her make choices, and you actually see a couple of moments in the game where she's now bringing in some other people. Like she has a moment with Maya, which I know we'll get to in a second.
Oh, yeah.
There, and she has a moment with Ava, and she has a moment with others, and with Tanis. Tanis really hits a little on that later, where Tanis says, "You need to stay here. You're the commander. You're important. Now you send us out on the field to take care of stuff." So Lilith, that's hard for her. And you see her fight that. I'm going. It's time for me to go back in. I'm going to be here. I'm going to do it. No. And I think when you have the whole arc now, you see the whole picture of what we did in Borderlands 3, when she gets her powers back now, rather than going on a universe tear of, destroying all the children of Vault, what does Lilith do? She realizes that Pandora, all of her friends and all of her home, is still in danger. And she, probably alone, has the ability to stop it. And you have that great moment. You saw her phase walk in Borderlands 2. You saw her teleport Sanctuary, or in Borderlands 1. You saw her teleport Sanctuary in Borderlands 2. You saw her teleport her friends off of Sanctuary in the DLC. And now the entire moon, Elpis, with, by the way, a lot of people on it. We remember the whole game, the pre-sequel, was set on that moon. There's a lot of places that we've been up there. She has to keep that moon from crash landing into the planet. And so she sacrifices herself. She doesn't know what the outcome of that's going to be. And the last thing that we know is her power is dispersed across the sky, in place of where the moon went at the end. Yeah. So there's a lot of mystery of what happened there. Did she save the people? Is she still alive? Did she sacrifice herself to save everything? I don't know. But that decision be a real decision for her is what's really important to see her character growth. And Lilith, I love her. Her self-sacrifice is one of the noblest things that anybody can ever do. Whenever I can't imagine, I have 2 grown kids now, and they're amazing. And when I think as a father, would I put myself? Yeah, absolutely. Without a heartbeat. When I think of other people, like you, especially with that coat on, would I jump in the way of a bullet for you? Right? No, I love it, but self-sacrifice is a really hard thing for any of us to contemplate. And when we see a hero do that in a story, especially when we've built up to that moment, you really see that coming together. And that's what I love about Lilith. She did that, and I think it really just elevates her in my mind. And hopefully, even though we kind of killed her off, is at least what it looks like now. I hope other people appreciate who Lilith is for that, and feel a deep connection with her as someone who loves her friends and is willing to give everything to keep her friends safe.
You said something interesting a while back when you're talking about this and describing it, like something of it like it's Lilith's game kind of thing. It's her story. It's this. Is she the main character of Borderlands 3? Like, when you think of the Borderlands story, is it a Lilith story?
Yeah, I mean, it really kind of is. We think about it in terms of kind of 3 different camps, right? The player characters have to feel important. I know one of the criticisms we've heard on some of the writing and story this time is they felt a little bit more detached than they did before, and it's something we're going to be looking forward in the future to try to keep that up. But our player characters, when we have a trend of they become NPCs in the next stories, and so maybe you'll see that with these player characters too. We're definitely thinking about that, and we've done it before. And then we think about who's the kind of the chief NPC protagonist. In Borderlands 2, it was Roland. It kind of passed over to Lilith, and then you kind of had some others that were kind of supporting cast in that. In Borderlands 3, it really is Lilith. And I think that's the other thing at the end. We wanted a very satisfying end to an arc because, as much as we love a character, we've got a lot of characters.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of characters that are favorites, some that we didn't even get to in the main game of Borderlands 3. And we want to be able to grow and spend time with those characters and places. So we want to be able sometimes to write a character's end to an arc right now, so that we can, if not remove them from the story or the impact of the future, at least let them take a break.
Yeah.
And move on. We've got a lot of stories that we want to tell. And one of the coolest new things is new characters. So we hope to do that more. But yeah, it's to get back to your very original question, it is very difficult to make these decisions. And this is never someone walks in one day and says, you know what? What are the 4 characters we're going to kill in this game? List them up right now.
We need 4 of them to go.
No, you really use those moments well, and there's a lot of thought that goes behind it. And I know I've read a lot of really great comments from players of some people who really loved it and got it, some people who were like, I didn't think it was impactful enough and that you really felt it. And those are, I can't disagree with all that. We all process, interpret stories differently. We certainly want to be respectful to our characters and to the love that our players have for our characters and want to treat them well. So we're always listening and looking for that, and hopefully we'll continue especially now that we have a story group. Yeah. We'll really keep that memory in our group, and every time we expand and write the universe, we'll do better and better and better at keeping you interested in what's going on. But we're not afraid to kill.
No.
And I think the stakes are really important. The universe Borderlands is a dangerous universe. You're gonna catch something from exposed sheet metal that's lying around you. You're gonna get a disease. You better come to Borderlands with your tetanus shots. Is what I'm saying, right? Yeah. And it's full of crazies and crazy things that want to kill you for no reason. So we've got to keep that thread in there.
It's interesting because I do feel like I thought one of the things that was interesting that stood out to me when I was reading comments, and I continue to see it every so often, right? Like on Reddit. Funny memes and cartoons, right, of Lilith handing it over to Ava, right? All right, you're in charge of the Raiders now when she runs off. And people their Vault Hunter is like, I just killed everybody. I just did all this. But I've never looked, when I've played Borderlands, I've never looked at any of my Vault Hunters as they're the main characters. It's my story in the world and in the overarching plot of what's happening. But it's not that... To me, Flack is he's got the narrative thread, right? He doesn't go through the journey and the change. Like, granted, I'm putting in my skills, I'm making my own memories, I'm playing with friends, but in reality, it's me watching what's happening around these people that I'm helping for my own needs.
Right. And there's actually some intentionality behind that. We may alter that a little bit in the future because, again, I think players feeling that they have an impact on the events that are going on is important. But I know in Borderlands 1 and 2 in the pre-sequel, we kind of like you to own that player character for your own story. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So giving you a choice of how you want that player character to look, how you build out the gear, and to a degree, even a little bit of how, in your mind, you're determining, why did I do this as Flack? Why did I prioritize this mission over that mission? Or did I choose to kill Jack? We want to give the player as much agency as we can into letting those players be their own, while still, when we got this comment from Borderlands 2. They loved that we added more backstory. They loved that we got I've seen a lot of positive feedback in Borderlands 3 on the amount of dialogue that we added for player character with interaction. Totally. We actually had about half as much as late as February this year, and we were doing some our first long through playtest in the story. That was one of the big pieces of feedback we got from our playtest users internally. It's like, I'd like to hear this talking a lot more. We doubled the amount of player response lines in the event on this, and I think that's some of the most effective writing that we did in Borderlands 3 as far as making you feel interested in hearing little things across the universe, right?
Mm-hmm. You talked about the writing right there and earlier as well with, when somebody takes this in and they consume your story, they consume your writing, obviously they interpret it their own way and they have their own tastes and values and everything else that comes out. It's easy to say that. Had you and the other 4 writers, or the other 3 writers in the game, steeled yourself for this? You think you've got the funniest joke in the world, and then to have people get there and be like, I wish I could just turn the jokes off. I play it on mute.
I'm always going to say yes. We as developers.
As you wipe away a manly tear. Yeah, no, totally, we were fun.
Our emotionless concrete statues of impervious feeling. That review didn't sting at all. No, it's tough. There's a really great quote that I cling to from Neil Gaiman, who's one of my favorite writers, American Gods and all that, who says when people tell you, and I'm going to get the quote wrong, people can look it up later and all that, but it's when people tell you that there's something wrong with your writing, they're almost always right. When they tell you how to fix what's wrong with your story, they're almost always incorrect. And I like that. And I think it's one of the things you have to understand because, and the reason they're correct are not because people aren't smart, but because there's often a lot of lifting that we're doing behind the scenes in crafting a story and crafting a narrative. Like, we put this here and you may not like it, but it's really here to support these other three things. And we have to constantly be vigilant and work on that to try to be sure that we're addressing things. Like, when people tell us, like, I didn't like that humor, like, that's been one of the things that we saw a lot. Like, humor is hit or miss. Like all writing, it's very subjective. But when people write in like way too many poop jokes, like, okay, hey, maybe so. And I was saying earlier, we actually looked at, poop and fart jokes. Like, did we do too many? I mean, we've done them in other Borderlands. I just thought that it was okay to there's a portion of Borderlands humor that's irreverent and immature. And I think if we cut those completely out, we would be doing another disservice to the franchise and not being true to our roots and our ground. But it just turns out that sometimes when everybody remembers that, like, we have this really, like, it's like a perfect storm of poop humor that can happen in Borderlands. If you play the game in the right way and do certain side missions and just get lucky with some loot drops and all that, you can like have an experience that in the course of 30 minutes, you can just
all poop jokes all of a sudden.
Honestly, I don't know what the maturity level of this podcast is, a poop storm.
You can say shitstorm.
A shitstorm. Okay, then it's an invariable shitstorm. Honestly, there's the porta potty mission. There's a poop gun. The Goliath can fart on you. Tyrene can tell you you're a turd burglar. There's all sorts of things, and all those things were written kind of at different times, and sometimes not even all by the writing group. When we look at all the text and everything that goes in the game, sometimes it's a creature designer or a mission designer that's naming an object or coming up with that on there or pitching a mission. Like, we write all of the spoken text and pull it all together, but the creativity is not limited even just to the writers on our team. So we as a team, have those moments that, like, there were moments that it probably got a little too deep. And so we're looking at that, and we're asking good questions. Like, okay, Borderlands has, where do we need to modernize and advance our humor and our wit? Where do we need to leave it alone? Yeah. And that's a really interesting debate that's going on right now. And hey, thank you. I just say it right now to our community, our fans. Your discussions are really great. And I'll just add a note. Like, hey, I love criticism. If you're going to do it and you're going to say worst writing ever, tell me why.
Yeah, where and why.
And the more specific you can be with that, the more helpful it is for us. Like, I've read, and the other thing that's great with our community is, like, for every person that says, I really hate this fart humor, there's another person that comes in the next, literally the neighboring thread and Reddit, like, this is the best humor ever. Ha, that fart joke was great.
We've had that podcast on Kind of Funny where one person's like, oh, and the other person's like, I actually really, and it's like that weird trade-off of everybody, I feel like, can get sucked in by the gameplay, right? And the loot and going through and grinding it out and how customizing your character. But then these little things that, like, they're getting caught off guard by.
Yeah, it's like trying to tell someone their favorite music or their favorite books or food or whatever. It's like, you can't tell me that I don't like that. I like that fart humor, and some people don't. So yeah, you're met with both sides of it.
We have the debate internally too. I mean, this debate rages on our team. My favorite one is there's a mission on Promethea, and I'm gonna forget the name of it right now, but it's the one where the doctor wants you in the Mount Schuler surgery clinic. Okay. He wants you to go get the medicine for him, and it turns out when you go there, he's got a mixtape. He's trying to be a DJ on the side, right? And it was one of those things where writers came up with an idea that, like, hey, I think it's kind of funny if he has this secondary thread where he's a doctor right now, but he really wants to be a DJ on the side, and he's always trying to get you to listen to his mixtape, right? And we loved what that did tonally. Internally, though, we were at a mission review early on, and there was someone, one of the senior guys at our mission was like, I don't get it. It's just not funny to me. I want you to cut all that part. I'm like, but it's hysterical. I think it's, so we're even internally having those debates all the time. Like, one person thinks it's the funniest thing ever. Another person thinks it's dumb and should be cut from our game. And I think in general, we err on including more of that. Like, we kind of play it. We play all the colors on the roulette wheel with humor. We have some smart humor. We have some fart humor. We have some dark humor. We have some ridiculous humor, like shooting in the face in Borderlands 2, is one of my favorite missions there, but it was dumb. Just shoot me in the face. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, it's great. And we want to keep all of those elements in there and do it. But again, always happy to hear the thoughts and reviews from other people. So that's very helpful.
Was there anything, you talk about the stuff you wanted to retain? I mean, yeah, this comedy that now goes back 10 years, or so to speak, you're retaining some of that vibe. Was there anything you went in and you're like, we really want to nail this or change this? Something you tried to either amp up or bring to it? And I have a follow-up to this.
Yeah, I mean, to us, I think there's a really great hit, and there's something that was not as effective as we wanted to be, and the hit was... we really wanted to add some more of those. Like Borderlands 2 really started, I think, explore where you have moments of real heart and real emotion in the game, right? And we definitely wanted to do more with that. Like what I love about even though Borderlands is known as a humorous game, I think one of the coolest things Borderlands can do, and any humorous game can do, any humorous subject, Guardians of the Galaxy is one of my first favorite movie examples of this, is where in the moment of ridiculous, dumb humor and dumb circumstances, you have a disarming effect that can really open the door for really deep and heartfelt narrative. And I think we had more of those moments that weren't necessarily even just the ones where we kill off a major character, but where there are really things happening. You talk about Ava. One of my favorite missions with Ava is the one where she asks you to go recover her diary. Yeah. And when you do, you find out this Malawan asshat, Private Beans, has gotten it, starts reading it aloud on this, and you suddenly have this mission that's kind of funny with what he's reading and how he's treating it, but he is delving into a teenage girl's private secrets. Yeah. And she hates it. And there's a part of that, the voice actress for Ava, who came and did it, she loved that mission because she said, that happened to me. And that was a moment for me. And I remember how violated I felt and how exposed I felt. And it's just so it's one of my favorite kind of moments in the game that even though it's funny, man, it's like, you have that thing that really resonates with us and makes you feel the character. In fact, I think it's interesting. I think that when you look at Ava as a character, I'm not all over the topics here.
Enjoy yourself. You're on a podcast, brother.
Yeah, let's do it. Whatever. But Ava.
7 hours later.
Yeah, you're gonna have to shut me up because
no, this is awesome.
Ava's been one of these great divisive characters.
Yeah, I loved her, and I can't believe how many people are like, "What the hell?"
And I'm not gonna judge anyone. I'm not gonna try to like the people who hated her. I'm not gonna say,
sure.
"No, you're wrong. She's perfect." And like I think we could have done a little bit better with Ava in some cases. A lot of it comes down to just space, right? Again. A lot of characters. We made some choices about who you spend time with on missions and all of that. And sometimes we did okay. Sometimes we didn't have as much time as we want. I would have loved to spend more time with Ava. But what I really love, if you watch, I think we really kind of look at the people who love Ava and hate Ava. The people who love Ava have played all the side missions and talk about those side missions, usually cite them as reasons they really like her and resonate with her. If you've just kind of played through the main mission thread, Ava doesn't feel like a very deep character.
Sure.
And we kind of have to do that intentionally because the main mission thread has to keep trucking. It has to keep moving. Yeah. And she's, talked about Lilith kind of is the superstar, and the Calypso twins are the important focus villain there. We have a lot of space to cover with that, so we have to be very careful. Now, Ava gets in there in places and certainly ends up with kind of the Holy Grail there at the end. Like, what am I doing with this?
Yeah.
But I would encourage people who don't like Ava right now and want us maybe look at that, go and find those side missions with Ava and play through it and see if that helps. I think there's some of that. We're going to spend some more time with her even in DLCs. And so there's some intent there. So there's some growth. And I think there's a very intentional, valid question from us at the end of Borderlands 3 is, why the hell is Ava get Sanctuary? Because she does not deserve it. She got Maya killed. She's got no experience. She's a little brat. She's kind of screechy sometimes. And I think that's a valid question to ask as a player. And there's a little bit of, in fact, there's more than a little bit of that's intentional narrative. And I think if you see, I can't spoil it all, but I think in the DLCs, we're going to help you understand what's going there. I think the biggest reason, if I want to answer fans from the game, we'll move off of Ava and ask other things. The biggest reason, if you want to know why Lilith gave the keys, Maya, God bless Maya, Maya. Lilith respects Maya so much, and Maya saw something in Ava that none of us have seen yet, really, to the degree that Maya did. Maya singled her out and decided she's going to be my apprentice. Even more than that, we've learned a new thing about siren powers, that they can be intentionally targeted to the next recipient. The first time we've ever shown that happening, and it's not always how they're transferred, but it happened here. Maya believed in Ava so much that happened. So yeah, you as the player have not seen all of that worth yet in Ava, and I'm hoping that things that you see in the future, and maybe some of the things you've seen in side missions, or if you get to other content in the game, will help flesh that out a little bit more. But I think that's why Lilith really, really said, I'm okay with that. Maya's gone. I'm gone. Tannis is the only other siren, but do you really want her in charge of people? No.
Tannis.
So Ava's there, right? Ava's the one like, man, you're really young, but Maya saw something in you. Sanctuary's yours. Earn it. There's that we leave it with. So to me, I love that feeling. And it's not a like future's certain going to be great. It's like, oh shit, what am I going to do with this?
Yeah.
And I like that feeling at the end. It's there's kind of a bittersweet end to this kind of the Pandora cycle of Borderlands in many ways.
Yeah, what I was going to say related to this was that I felt like the main highly animated, scored cinematic scenes were focused with a little more heart. I don't know if that was the intention, but I personally, I actually like dumb humor, so I like all the stuff that's going on there. Some things you take or leave, but overall I love that vibe. But I actually I want more of that core. Whatever you guys did with the narratives, I personally really liked. I felt the heart. I felt the music composition. So yeah, I was wondering if that was the main intent of those, is to really drive home a campaign story, so to speak.
Yeah, it's the first time in a Borderlands game we've done more than just an intro cinematic, right? Really not even an exit cinematic. Now, we've done the title cards, which technically have, in Borderlands 2, had a little bit of character development and all that, but they're like 10 to 12 seconds long. They're very short and usually only get a little bit of flavor for what that character is on a character introduction. But absolutely, the big cinematics, we consider them like pillars of the narrative story throughout. And I think they're a really great device. I mean, one of the things when we started playing with the idea of those and tested them early on, we found that like playtesters who are playing the story can almost completely recall the details of a big cinematic cutscene.
Yeah.
While at any point, and this is, by the way, there's another thing that I'll acknowledge in this that's difficult for Borderlands, because Borderlands is a game. You're killing stuff, people are screaming at you, there's a lot of things happening in your head at once, and one of the things we always have to think about and consider with storytelling is you might be going 3 different directions with your party. Who knows what's going to be saying? You may have just picked up a Typhon log while Tyrene's trying to say something really important over here. Sometimes we have to double up on that information. Sometimes it gets stomped. Sometimes you're going to forget it. Sometimes you're not going to hear it. Sometimes it's going to, whatever. So what I love about adding those cinematic beats back in is it's a good place to kind of regroup and
here's the important information.
Yeah.
Here's what you need to know to keep this going. Because I've noticed that too, playing with people. I can only imagine what it's like to write a game where you're trying so hard to write funny stuff and story stuff, and that you know that it's gonna be me and Fran being like, so what did you do tonight? Oh, you're streaming right now? I'm gonna make fun of the name you just said. Haha, always. I'm getting a text. Hold on. It's Andrew Goldfarb. Let me put him on the phone. Like, I feel like I've noticed when I play with people, when you get to a cutscene, people do naturally stop. Like, oh, hold up. Yep. All right, you want to watch it and you want to see what's happening.
Definitely the first time.
Yeah, the first time.
Definitely the first time.
Skip through stuff.
Yeah, where is the skip? Huh?
Well...
Huh?
Yeah, it's we're looking at that. We definitely understand, like, and that's I'll say that too with pacing. Like, we definitely understand. We really, really do make an effort to keep the narrative from really stomping on gameplay. Like, we're very cognizant of every time we're pulling you out of that gameplay loop and taking control away from you and making you watch our dumb movie, right, for a little bit. We want to get that back in. It didn't make it, and in the game it wasn't an intentional thing. It's just one of those features that we came in hot, and it didn't make the final cut, except in True Vault Hunter mode. We let you skip there. So we're looking for the next opportunity to get that in. We certainly know that it's a point of friction for players, and we really want to remove points of friction. So it's not that we feel so great about our art that we want to make you watch it every time. we understand. Like, I'm a player like you, and I'm playing through True Vault Hunter mode with my friend. We're on like our third. I'm just actually second time through True Vault Hunter mode with me and the guys I'm playing with, right? And like, we're all get to the cutscene. I'm like, okay, well, I'll be back. I'm gonna go get a drink.
Yeah.
A couple minutes. We get it. And you got to understand me. I've seen these things like 50, 60, 70 times. So
you saw their wireframe gray box.
Yeah, I have a little bit of joy every time I get to watch it with someone who's never seen it.
Yeah,
and I'm always like, I play friend. I'm on Discord with all my friends, and we're talking there, and I'm like, I'd be real quiet. I'm just waiting for the reactions, and it's that happened. Oh, it's so cool. And I'm kind of like a kid in the candy store there, but we understand that like people who just want to get the game, we're going to look at that. That's something that's on our radar. We're going to see when we can work it in. And it's just, again, it like the conversation we had earlier, it's all balanced against a lot of other content. And we're trying to make smart decisions about the actual most important things. So it's not forgotten. It's not unheard. And we really tried not to be assholes about this. And we're sorry. I understand it creates a friction. So we'll look at it. It's something we want to do in the future to improve the experience.
We'd be remiss in this spoiler section not to talk about the Calypso twins.
Yes.
Where did they start? Where did that idea? Were you watching some annoying streamer like Fran and you're like, that'd be a good villain? Did you expect them to be... Were they going to be the main villain the entire time? Because I'm stupid, as everybody knows. And so, like, when we did the Borderlands reveal event and we saw their statues in there, I was like, oh, they're like the first act boss. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be the first thing we deal with here. I didn't think they were the entire way. Yeah, I thought it was like... I didn't realize they were the handsome Jack of this game.
Man, that's a great question, and I like the way you put it because there's such a journey through developing a story, especially this big. We did not start off with the idea that they were social media streamers. Early on, there were kind of two competing threads, and not even competing, but they were developing at the same time. One was, hey, Handsome Jack was a really great villain. Wow, we've got to try to do another really great villain. And in a lot of ways, Handsome Jack, again, great writing and a very simple story. Borderlands 2, by the way, is, you can sum it up in a sentence, like he tries to kill you at the beginning and you spend the rest of the game trying to kill him back.
Yeah, chase him down.
Right, that's the conflict of that story. And there's some other stuff that happens, but you can sum it up there. Like it's not that simple in Borderlands 3. And we did want to add a little bit more depth to the story, but that complicates the villain. And then, man, what a great voice actor. Damien just came in and just nailed it. And like those first studio sessions with him, just lightning in a bottle. That stuff doesn't happen all the time. Even though we try to make it, we work very hard and we spend a lot of time on casting, on writing, on character development. Sometimes it just happens and it's great. And Borderlands 2 is just amazing at that. So, man, we've definitely felt that pressure coming up to develop the villains in Borderlands 3. And so you have that pressure going on. The other one was like, hey, we know that we're going to go to other planets. That was one of the big things that we wanted to pay off on Borderlands 2. And so we started to think very early on about those other planets almost as kind of different major acts in this play. And like every act, then okay, think about the game structure. Okay, you work up to this point and then you fight a villain here. And then you when we fight a villain, like we as gamers, we want to be able to fight the villain and kill the villain. Right, it's really hard when you don't kill the villain.
Yeah,
and it sometimes seems like throwing away a good villain, but man, it's so dissatisfying when we built up all this and we don't let you as a player have that final agency of defeating once and all that villain. And it's always like, yoink, nope, he got in this speeder bike and rode away. So we wanted to be sure that we had act villains that could be taken down. Katagawa came on really early on for that. Aurelia came on really early for that. Even Payne and Teller came on later on as kind of doing that. Because we think of each planet almost the Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and the surprise Act 4. which I'm sure you'll ask about in a second. But then we wanted that what ties all that together. Because you can almost think of those, and you can almost see early on development. Those are almost separate short stories.
Yeah.
Of the city fight on Promethea, what's going on with the dynastic struggle in Eden 6, and then what's really going on with the Children of Vault later on. Those are almost written as short stories, and then we wanted that narrative that pulled them all together. In fact, originally Borderlands didn't even begin on Pandora. Borderlands 3, we were going to drop you right there in Promethea, where Act 1 started, and like brand new, everybody, you're in a city. And it actually, when we tested it early on, it didn't feel Borderlandsy for people. It felt that we'd lost something in the franchise. And with 7 years between big main solid number games, right?
Yeah.
We wanted to be sure that everybody, even new players coming into the franchise, had a chance to feel the essence of Borderlands.
This is what
started
Borderlands
on Pandora
Yeah,
before we did all that. And also give us a chance to build the Calypsos, to show their recruitment and how they're building up that and create it. But it was probably 2 years in development that the Calypsos were there, and we were looking at them like, man, they're not quite, they're missing that spark that Jack had.
Yeah.
They're missing something there, and they're just elevated bandit leaders. What can we do with them? And someone said, I don't know, they're kind of in your face. What we liked about Jack is he's always in your face. He's saying stuff about potato chips and butt stallions and all that stuff. And he's always
all right, kiddo.
yeah. Just for no reason. He's always doing something and saying something there. And so we're like, how do we accomplish that and do it in a way that's like at least semi-relevant and like, oh, live streamers. And so we started looking like they're
they're the worst.
They're a part of our culture and they're great and I love this world that we're in right now.
Yeah.
And I love that finally I get to make a new best friend by watching them on a stream and every once in a while you'll say my name and I'll feel really special in that relationship of that I'm now part of Fran's family. And when
family we call it.
That's right.
When we hit that and we understood that what live streaming is about building families. It's about building social groups. We realized that, the Crimson Raiders are also about building families and social group. Lilith, more than just being a general hero, really cares mostly about protecting her family. Well, we want villains to have a family as well. So what was interesting about that is the idea that the villains were sirens and were then conjoined twins. So those were completely independent things from all that. That happened much earlier. Like, what's a good villain? Well, we've not done a siren as a villain before. That's cool. Sure. Let's do that. Let's give a villain mystical powers and see what we can do with it. And then, like, what's better than a villain? 2 villains. And then what's more interesting about that? Well, what if they're twins? That's neat. What's more interesting than that? Oh, they're conjoined twins. And then we say, what if the male is a siren because he breaks the female siren rule because he was born conjoined to the females? Like, we started thinking about that, and that got really exciting. And it's even with all that, it wasn't hitting. And then we came up with the idea of family.
Yeah.
Social media being a family, it hit all of those notes at once. They can be in your face. They can take this bandit cult of Pandora, which are a little bit more manipulatable. They're people who are drawn to bright lights and big explosions, and they're as much as we call them literally the cult, the children of the vault. And they're cult leaders. They get this cult-like devotion from the bandits. You see all that going in at once of this, and you're like, oh, that's cool. And the moment that we started writing that kind of streamer banner, the follow, and obey, and other stuff in it, like, crap. Okay, we've got personality in it now. We can go further, and then we can push that further. And it was actually our own Elisa Melendez who does the voice, who's one of our media managers at Gearbox, and so we brought her in because of her position. We said, hey, why don't you come in and read early Tyreen just while we're doing table reads on the script, and let's do that. And she brought so much color and character to that, like, yeah, that's something new. That's cool. That's awesome. And then we started writing that, and then we cast her because like now we've just written the character around you and. You build up from there. So I like where they went. I think we probably could have gone another step or two further in like smart social commentary about live streaming and all of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that.
Take a break. Don't burn out. Drink more water.
Right. Well, when I went in, I was like, oh, they're going to make some commentary about, who knows, they're the villains and maybe social media is ruining our culture. Who knows? And there actually wasn't much of that, which I think was totally fine. I didn't miss it or anything.
Yeah.
But I think you're right that you probably could, you could still run with that at some point.
Yeah, I've heard a couple of people that have written some really good kind of criticisms of our game and the story in it that have mentioned that. And I'm like, I agree. And it was one of those hard decisions you have to make where you look at the amount of space you have for storytelling in the game. And we had to make some harder decisions about information that was more important for the overall story. So
you talked about family and the streaming family and the family that Lilith had and all that stuff. When did you see that last wrinkle of like them being Typhon's children?
It was pretty late, and what was interesting is there were so many. Like there was a time that Tyreen had the ability to leech powers. And Lilith was going to lose her powers, but they weren't related. Those were unrelated events. So we put those together at some point.
You're like,
and Typhon, the idea of the first Vault Hunter.
Yeah.
The just creating this more mysticism around vaults and what they are. That was an early concept too. And it was when we had that moment of like, how can we continue to enhance the family theme that we said, what if Typhon was there? And then we're like, oh yeah, and what if he's still alive? And what if he's on, in this hidden planet? And what if that explains like I don't know how many people okay, super spoiler land here. I'm going to tie up some of the stuff at the end of the game, right? To put it together. I just want to warn people, like this is, like to me, understanding that so Chirene and Troy, born literally in a vault. Typhon talks forever about how he and Lita, kept doing it in the vault. Like that had an effect, right? And they were born like that. I don't know how clear it is in the dialogue in the game. Tyrene killed her mother. So when she realized, it was one of the first times she realized what her siren power was, the leeching. Yeah. She kills her mother when she's young. And so imagine, having a 4, 5, 6-year-old kid that has all these powers and parents that kind of understand it. And then just one day, you go grab mom's hand and suddenly mom's a husk. What does that do to your family dynamic? What does that do to the person? What does that do? And you take that idea and then the idea that Typhon, who kind of understands a little bit of what's at stake here in the galaxy, who's been around, he said everything, I've got to protect the galaxy from them. I've got to hold them here. And now has to both be an overprotective father who can never touch his daughter for fear that she's going to oh my gosh. It's so, there's some complexity to that relationship that when you start to map out and imagine what that might do to a character, you understand why Tyreen is the way she is, why she's all about the attention, why she wants to be a god, why she doesn't want limits, she doesn't want rules, she doesn't want authority, she needs to get out beyond that. And Troy, who's a little bit smarter of the two, probably, if you really came down to it, he's a little bit more measured, a little bit more controlled, he tries, but then he has a need. He's dependent on her, and before he steals Maya's powers, he's dependent on her for actual life. Like he gets really weak and if he's going to do anything, she has to feed that power back to him. And he spends so long doing that, but he loves his sister and he supports her. And a lot of people I know expected the inevitable betrayal from Troy to Tyreen, and we discussed that, and we actually like better, I think, at the end that Troy has some family loyalty there and tried to do it. Now he almost threw it away when he super leeched her. He almost killed her. Yeah. But it was in pursuit of a goal that they had always dreamed of together, even though it was probably a very misguided goal, especially for the circumstances. So, man, I love the subtle complexity of the story. I know if you play, especially around with side missions and really listen carefully to what Typhon says when you get to Necrotafeo, there's a lot of that clicks in later. And I would, people really want to get into that. There's a lot to dig into there and find out. So, and some of it's some of the darkest, really more melancholy part of Borderlands for all our fart jokes on the other end. By the way, here's this really dark, sad story of a family that's just been broken apart by vaults.
Yep.
And there's a really danger to that crazy stuff that happens.
Yeah, I thought it added a nice intensity to the end because I certainly didn't expect it. And you've been hearing as someone who's not really great with the lore because I'm streaming while I'm playing and talking to friends and all
Literally,
that.
the guy we're talking about.
Yeah,
all his work. You're wasting all his work. But this is why he forces you to watch his videos.
I'm just going to tender my resignation.
But it's the compliment, right? Yeah. Which is that I knew who Typhon was from listening to the logs and in general, right? And then for this to all come together, I was genuinely surprised that it added just a lot of intensity to the end. And so,
dude, when Typhon is finally going through his story and you're talking to you and he's saying, and we had twins. That's when I literally went, oh God. I remember I was it finally clicked of why didn't I see this?
Isn't that a cool feeling though? Isn't
awesome.
that a cool feeling when you've got that long-term payoff and we really, that's the other thing we really tried to do. Some of the narrative is a little obscure in places. We love it when we give you just enough clues that you can come to the conclusion before we tell you flat out what's going on, right? There's a part of me, I love this show because I finally get to talk about all the stuff that's been 3 or 4 years of us, I imagine. Yeah. But I actually love it when players get to, when we do well enough that the players can discover it on the, and you have that moment that's a great feeling.
That's the best payoff.
That's a great feeling.
All right. We could do this forever.
Yeah.
But we still have more show to do.
Yes.
So you are welcome to come back. Come back later in the Borderlands show here to do it. Instead, right now, I think, and this is untapping, spoilers are off if you were somehow watching an hour-long conversation on mute. Let's talk about the Maliwan takedown. What is going on with takedown at Maliwan's Black Site?
So takedowns are a new special experience we're adding to the game. By the way, it's free content.
Okay.
Just like Bloody Harvest is free content, but takedowns are not seasonal.
They aren't seasonal?
No.
Okay.
Takedowns are free content you're going to get, and they'll be there
for the existence. Okay.
Forever is a long word to use,
sure,
but they'll be there with the game, right?
Okay.
They're not going to be on and off. They're going to be there with the rest of the game. It is a really cool, it's basically in-game content. It's a hard co-op, designed to be a 4-player co-op mission at level 50.
Okay.
It's going to unlock for you when you complete one playthrough of the game, which you're going to be somewhere between 30 and 40 in there, depending on how many side quests you've completed and all that. But it is definitely tuned at 4 players at level 50. And essentially what a takedown is. So the first one is the Maliwan Black Site takedown. I got to get all those things. Lorelei has found, again, Maliwan. You see some of the Maliwan Black Ops there on Necrotafeo, that in planet we just talked about. they've got a secret research lab somewhere bringing in new tech that potentially is going to be very, very dangerous. And Lorelei, I love Lorelei, our barista on the ground, trying to be sure that she's defending her peeps there in the city. She's worried that Malawan now is going to bring that to bear in the war back on and renew the war on Promethea, and like that's bad stuff. She called you the Vault Hunter to go and take it down. So it's really story-like. There's going to be a little bit of that. You're gonna get a character and all that, but it's kind of story-like because we want this to be a repeatable experience. Something you can go and play again. So
is there specific loot tied to it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So level 50, 4-player co-op. You can, as soon as you unlock it, you can go play it. You can go play it single player if you want. I know some people are going to try, but it really is balanced for level 50, 4-player.
You said this does unlock only if you finish the campaign?
You have to finish the campaign once for it to unlock. So if you've already done that, you're just going to, when it goes live, you're just going to be able to jump right in it with your buddies and all that. So you're going to get to fight some mini bosses, and there's a big boss at the end. It's almost like it is a unique area. It's a new map.
Okay.
And you're going to play through. It's got some other encounters. We'll have some new Malawan enemies.
Okay.
One of my there's two I'll talk about that are kind of cool. I don't want to spoil all of them. One of them is a new variant of the Malawan Shield Trooper that actually will absorb elemental damage, which strengthens its shield, and if it gets built up too far, it'll shoot it back at you. Right? So it's going to change the gameplay loop with certain elemental types, which is going to be really cool. Another one is a Malawan Stealth Trooper. So you like the guys that run real fast? How about ones that are just completely invisible most of the time?
I don't like that.
So yeah, it's actually really fun. We're playing with it right now, and we're really enjoying it. There'll be some little tells and stuff, and they'll come in and out, but it's a really neat game mechanic. But you're going to play through all that, get the bosses, and yes, unique loot that you can only get here. So one of the big things that we're going to introduce here is some of the best shields in the game. Probably at the time that they came, our goal is that these are the best shields in the game at the time that this content launches. Again, some really great shield and brand new content. There's also going to be heads and skins, as well as I think at least one trophy that you can get to say that I've done it right. You can put back in your
trophies, Francie. Get off that PC. Come on over.
Maybe some other stuff, but maybe some other types of loot. I'd be surprised if we don't add some kind of gunner there and there. But shields is going to be the big focus on this one, so it's going to be really cool. But yeah, it should be a really great experience. It's meant to be that kind of high tier. It should be really hard the first time you play it. And there are some, by the way, true Vault Hunter variants that come in. So like if you are a player really seeking to challenge yourself to the top of that, then you're going to want to play this True Vault Hunter, Mayhem.
That's what I was going to ask. So you can apply all the same difficulty.
Yep. Right now that's the way it's working. We'll see when it launches, but that's the plan right now. So you want to play right there to really challenge yourself and all that. And it should be, if we do our work right, hard.
Yeah, and you should get the drops hopefully too for putting.
It's targeted at about a 30-minute play, so kind of like the probably a little bit longer than the Proving Grounds right now, but not too long. We still like that you can come play a session, either replay it or take a break, come back tomorrow. It's designed to be replayable content, and we want you to actually go and get it. We want you to dissect character builds. You can build specific character builds and find specific gear sets that are just great on this. We expect that even though we're targeting it 30 minutes, once by the time that your 4-player team really digs into it, they're gonna be speed runs. Sure. People are gonna commit it. All of that's gonna be great, and we want all that to happen.
Sorry if I missed it. And just for clarity, is it match made as well as you put your own team together?
I don't know. That's the one thing.
That's the story, guys.
I withdraw.
Probably.
Hold on a second. We have the power. Right now, we're gonna put it up here. Is it match made or is it? And you can put it right there. It's like in Bill and Ted, right, where they put the keys up there. There you go. There's your answer.
It's the obvious.
It's right there.
You edit it in after.
Yeah, exactly. That's how easy you can do it, Fran.
It's the magic of video production, Greg.
When's it coming out?
Malawan Takedown is on its way out on November 21st. So just a few weeks away.
Yeah.
Ooh, excellent.
Close to Thanksgiving for us, Greg.
Exactly. And if you're Canadian, not that close to your Thanksgiving. And if you're British, we're still not sure if you have.
We're still not sure about that one.
You know what I'm excited about, Fran? The new shift key. That's right, everybody. We have a shift key for you. We're putting it on screen right now for you to go get the Halloween heads. These, of course, dropping right now. This is it. This is their debut. They're never before seen. You go get them right now with that shift key. You enjoy it.
And that's why you should watch the show live. If you're watching it after, obviously, you can just get it in the comments.
Yeah, somebody tweeted it, and you're like, oh, that's cool. You don't even understand the excitement of what we just did, people. Yeah. Now, Randy.
Yes.
Of course, a big part of this show is the mailbag. You, ladies and gentlemen, can be a part of it. Kindafunny.com/Borderlands with your questions, comments, and concerns. I want to start with Marcus. Marcus has a specific question that you've already answered, but I want to twist it, all right? Marcus asks,
twist it up.
Will the Malawan Takedown and any future Takedown events be a limited time event, or will they remain in the game after they release? Yeah. You've already said Malawan Takedown is in the game from here on out. That's the thing. It's not seasonal like Bloody Harvest.
Yeah, which is about 6 weeks for Bloody Harvest.
Right. Why the difference? Why make anything why make something like Bloody Harvest something that's going to go away?
Yeah, we want to balance the idea between new reasons to come back to the game and reasons to continue playing the game over a long time, right? The seasonal event's really cool because it's like, it's here for a little bit. You have that excitement. I want to come in, I want to get this. And I think every time, you see a seasonal event, we're going to try to add some content that's brand new for that season that's going to be available just then. It's cool to share that experience with the community, to come back together, to get back in a long-term game like this. And Takedowns, we like that long-term event. We like that content out there that's really difficult. It's got some good rewards in it, but you're really going to need to commit some time and some energy to building up to that, to playing it over time. So we honestly, the plans of this game, it's layers upon layers upon layers of content that we want to get to users, so
Sure.
that users, players, fans, whatever. I used to work in software, whatever. But we want to get all that content out and all sorts of different types. So there's always something new to come back and check out.
Right. Yeah, I mean, personally, I love Halloween. It's my favorite holiday. So the fact that
Couldn't tell, Greg.
No, really? The fact that there is a seasonal event right in the game that isn't going to it would be weird to play the Halloween content in February.
Yeah, it would.
So off. Can I hit him with his first big question up here?
Sure, go for it, Fran.
James Herbert.
And who does he main?
It doesn't say, Greg.
It says Flacco. Actually.
Okay,
It says
yeah,
Flacco,
there it
actually,
is,
the
I
best-
guess. Hard
the
to
best
say.
character.
Flack's awesome, but I'm a Zane guy. All right, anyway, James Herbert asks, when can we expect to see the first increase in the level cap?
It is coming.
Oh,
Exclusive details. I didn't even expect that much.
I didn't know if he'd been prepped for this question.
So you didn't finish the sentence, comma?
But not soon.
That's fine. I can live.
It's in here.
We definitely have level cap increases planned, just like we have for our previous Borderlands titles.
Sure.
So what will come. I don't have a date that I can commit to yet. We're still working out the best place, but in Borderlands 2, they came sometimes with major DLCs. Like, we have a lot more type of events and patches we're adding in. So who knows? But definitely coming. I will confirm that they're coming.
I think you know.
It's good enough.
That's all right.
I have an idea.
I was gonna say, I think he has a rough plan. Right? He knows the rough plan.
Ish.
I know the rough plan, but like I said, we are still trying to stay agile for new things coming in from the community that we want to respond to, and then we're very ambitious with our content this time, so we want to be sure that all that comes in, and we want to balance how you grow. Like we have mayhem modes. The takedown is a new way to grow and get gear and all that. We're going to add that. Bloody Harvest has new things to collect. We want to be sure to pace all those things out. So there's always some reason to come back and play a little bit more, try something new. So I have an idea of when it's coming, and I think it's going to be exactly the right time for people.
Right around ish. What I was going to say is
right around
actually,
ish.
I'm with you and probably a lot of the community. Like, we're still fixing up some of these loot drops, these nerfs. I don't want to have to chase down a ton of new power yet until I can get all the stuff I want in the right place. And so I think that's fine.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's got.
Yeah, I'm with.
Well,
I'm with them on that
I
one.
have the Fran seal of approval now, so
Okay,
it's,
as if it's
well, we can wait
that
another
big deal.
year.
You have the Zane seal of approval.
Kristen writes in to Borderlands, the show, kindoffunny.com/Borderlands. I got a lot of URLs in my head, and I'll tell you, it was a struggle right there to grab the right one. At the end of, and this is for you, your story group, right? You're the head of this now. This is it.
Okay.
At the end of Borderlands, the pre-sequel, the Watcher warns us that, quote, war is coming, and we're going to need all the Vault Hunters we can get. But the main story in Borderlands 3 doesn't seem to be the war that the Watcher is talking about. Is this something that will be further elaborated on the incoming DLC for Borderlands 3?
When we go to that war, it's probably bigger than a DLC can contain. Okay. Like, if you're talking an all Vault Hunter war, you're talking about something that's a main thematic of the game.
Oh my God, it's going to be your battle royal. All Vault Hunter war. It's going to be everybody you know, plus a whole bunch more.
So we are definitely aware that we've left that hanging. It was very intentional that we did not address that yet on Borderlands 3. And I think some of the reasoning there is we wanted to go ahead and open up the galaxy. And we wanted to do that before we talked about this giant multi-Vault Hunter everywhere
that makes smart.
war on
That's
it.
smart.
So so much of the sub-theme on Borderlands 3 was about opening up the galaxy and realizing there are other planets and there are other places and there are other people. So we know that question is out there. I'll just say it. You aren't going to see anything with a Vault Hunter war in our DLCs.
Okay.
I think you're going to be very, very happy with what we've done with the DLCs, and there's some really cool. We were talking earlier about time for character development and to really grow that. You're going to see some more of that. Oh, I wish I could say anything, but you're going to have that on the next show and start talking about that. It's some really exciting stuff coming up.
That's right. First DLC details. Next
show. Make sure to tune
Fran,
in.
you want to take the next question?
Absolutely. Kean McCritchie asks, and is also a fleck. Shocker.
Fran!
How do you come up with so many amazing ideas for Borderlands 3? Mainly the guns. How did you come up with some of them, like the King and the Queen? You know, I think in terms of like, he's probably getting, or they are getting out the abilities and names and everything. Like, how do you guys do it?
Man, it's a team effort. Like, I've got to give a lot of credit. So, like a lot of things, you know, I talked about how in previous Borderlands we had one writer, and then we have 4. The gun team was essentially one gun designer, Borderlands 2, and now it's a team. Right. So every place we wanted to really commit to expanding and building on the promises that we made in all that. We added more people. Amazing team on Borderlands 3. Jet and Jimmy and Kevin and Grant, like these guys they were designers, and I'll say this. Most of those guys were character designers or big systems designers on Battleborn, which let us play around with a lot of different types of gameplay styles and archetypes and all that. One of the best things that I love that we got out of Battleborn is we really leveled up a lot of designers that then took that energy and funneled it right into. So I think you see a lot of just growing up over time as Gearbox.
Yeah.
Our designers getting even better, and then honestly, we put those guys in a room together and we said, "Go." And they did. They really came at it. And there's some intentionality to it, too. Like, we knew that, like, we don't want to just have the same guns again, you know, in the game. What can you do to take every weapon manufacturer that we've done, and how do you build on all those promises? So if you notice, like, all of the weapon manufacturers that returned all had at least one new twist. Like, even though, like, Jacobs is a great example. Even though it's still, you know, if it takes more than one shot, you're not using a Jacob, and it still has the Old West styling. The big new thing that we added now is if you get a headshot, it ricochets into another enemy. So it adds another skill loop on what was already a cool skill loop on Jacob. So there's a lot of thought from those guys and other people on the team throwing ideas in. And then just a lot of craziness in the back end of them trying to come up with every ridiculous legendary they ever have.
Yep. Yeah, the manufacturer play style, so to speak, is really cool. Like, you get adapted to whatever. You're a Tediador, like, you're usually throwing that thing out in the wild and it's doing something, but that's a totally different play style.
Well, that's why it was funny to add in the brand loyalty stuff, right? Where it actually rewards you. And it's like, oh, man, I'm using the same guns over and over again, which was interesting. And then encouraged me to go play other ones. But again, I'd go in and like, I don't like this. You know, that's not what I want to use.
Your play style.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. That's cool. Final question comes from Patrick, who wrote in.
Right.
kindafunny.com/Borderlands.
Don't say the question until you say who their character is.
I'm still explaining where he was going to send it, Fran. Patrick is an outlier and a weirdo and plays as Zane.
Oh, okay. You're going to get some flack for that.
Oh, bada bing, end the show. Credits. Patrick says, since we saw the return of Zero and Maya from Borderlands 2, what is the possibility that we will be seeing the remaining Borderlands 2 Vault Hunters in the future with respect to the DLC? P.S. Can't get enough Borderlands 3. It's definitely my game of the year.
Oh, well, thank you. That means a
Hashtag
lot.
Zane.
There's a chance. We have a habit of never letting characters go.
I noticed even with this one, a lot of familiar faces popping up.
Which is, man, it's a massive challenge. Like, you know, I saw, like, when you had that scene at the end of the last Avengers movie where everybody's brought back on scene for the one, we felt that same thing. It's like, oh my gosh, we got so many characters. How are we going to work them back in? Oh, it's so little time. And
did you feel like you had to?
We felt that there were like I said, we're always in the community, and we read great notes like this here of like, this is my favorite character when they're coming back. I'm like, oh, as soon as we can find a place. So we had to make some hard decisions on characters to push back to other places. So I won't say who.
Okay.
But there will be other Vault Hunters from Borderlands 2 that will return in DLCs.
Okay.
Definitely, that definitely will happen. It's not all of them.
Okay.
And I hope we made the right decisions. I'm sorry for people that your favorite character doesn't come back. But there are some that will return. So there's some characters that you've not seen yet in the Borderlands 3 main game that will show up in Borderlands in the DLCs that will hopefully fans will love how they show up.
That was awesome.
Awesome.
Randy.
Yes.
I could talk to you for hours about
this.
this.
I know.
We definitely need to come back at some point because I'd love to keep talking about it.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
But no, you were great. Thank you so much. Thank you for Borderlands 3. It's a great game, great story.
A lot of
Stellar
people
job.
back at Dallas. You know, now I get to read the credits. Is that what we do at the end?
Yeah, exactly.
we go
Now,
through
now there's an
all
unskippable
hour-long
cutscene for them to
credits,
see,
yeah.
right?
A lot of great people we don't have time to give credit for, but the team says thank you, and it's a joy to make this, and it's a joy to be able to interact with you guys as fans and our broader fan base. So thank you. It's been a joy to be here.
Thanks
you
and
so
congrats.
much. Fran,
Yes.
it's been a joy to be here with you as well.
Always, Greg.
But the
no
show's
matter
not
who
over
you play.
yet. No, I'm quiet now. No, there's none of that. There's none of that. None of this Zane stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, it was such a hit in episode 1. Here's Ask a Psycho.
Ask a Psycho.
Patrick from Illinois asks, Psycho, how are you celebrating Bloody Harvest? Easy! With my jack-o'-lantern! Tell me what you know about DLC 1, Jack! Tell me! Tell me what you know!
Ask a Psycho.
Thanks for watching the Borderlands Show, everybody. Fran, did you have a good time?
I had a great time talking story, talking Takedown, getting shift codes.
Yeah.
It's a good show. You should watch more of them.
How are you still crazy about the golden keys? Are you still redeeming them every
Oh,
time?
I hoard them. I'm waiting to see,
what are you hoarding them for?
You gotta wait for the right time and the right event, Greg. The right loot balance. It's a very specific formula.
I'm in there left and right.
I got like 25 of them almost, so
God,
just
just
sitting there.
spend some of them. Have some fun.
Nah, not yet.
Make sure you're following Borderlands on social media so you can find out when the next episode of the Borderlands Show is. Right now, targeting November 18th-ish. Ish. As you know, things change quite often in the run-ups to this show. What's going on with content? Who can fly where? So we're saying that end of November-ish. You won't want to miss it. Next month, ladies and gentlemen, Randy Pitchford from Gearbox is joining us to finally and fully reveal DLC number 1 for Borderlands 3. Can't wait to see that.
That's gonna be a big show.
And just like Randy today, I got some questions for Randy Pitchford.
That's right.
All right? I got some
Get 'em in.
questions. Make sure you be part of this show, kindafunny.com/Borderlands. You can go over and follow him on Twitch, twitch.tv/Borderlands. You can subscribe to youtube.com/Borderlands Games so you never miss an episode of the Borderlands Show or whatever else they put up there. I don't really pay attention. If it's not me,
If it's not
I'm
our
not
show,
clicking
Greg,
I'm
I
not
mean-
clicking on it. You know what I mean?
No,
when they got the best, why watch the rest? You know what I'm saying? Until next time, Vault Hunters, like,
Follow.
and obey.